Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Welcome back to the Infowars Nightly News. Now, our next guest really needs no introduction if you've been a follower of the Alex Jones channel and what's going on lately with all these social justice warriors. You can see the video, Anti-Trump Protesters Go Berserk, and that is Owen Shroyer right there talking to a large gathering of anti-Trump protesters and basically by himself talk them down into a corner. So he's going to basically, what I invited him on here today is, California is coming up, the primary. There's going to be at least a dozen Trump rallies in between now and then. So this is for people who are pro-First Amendment, pro-freedom of speech, even pro-Trump. He's going to give you some tips on what you can do. He's over my shoulder right now. It's Owen Shroyer. He's going to tell you what you could do against these social justice warriors. Owen, how's it going today?
It's going good. I'm honored to be on Infowars.com. You guys are probably my favorite news source. When I got the call from you, I was ecstatic. So glad to be here today.
Well, let me tell you, I was more than impressed, and we should have got you on a lot sooner. I was really impressed with how you stood your ground. You had facts. You weren't afraid to be loud and just, express your opinions out there in a group, that was definitely hostile to what you had to say.
Well, and the thing was, I didn't go there to do any street debating. I just went there to see Donald and hear what he had to say. And it just reached a point where I couldn't help myself. I was sick of being called a racist. I was sick of being called crazy. And I guess there's just a little rebel-rousing soul inside of me that whenever I see an all-you-can-eat buffet of social justice warriors, I can't help myself. But, what it came down to at the end of everything, as you said, was they were basically backed into a corner. All I had to do was stand my ground. And I don't know how many knockouts I had in that little 20-minute session there, but they just come, they embarrass themselves, and then they disappear because they have no depth to their argument. So I actually felt like I was not my most coherent, not my most eloquent that day, but it's tough to be when people are shouting racist at you and F Trump and whatnot. And
well, I agree with you.
My voice because a crowd gathered around me. I mean, there were probably 200 people gathered around witnessing this thing. So I started raising my voice, and it really became quite a moment.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. You can't fault yourself, looking back, I should have said this, I should have said that. I do that too, looking at videos that I put out there and produce. I should have said this, should have brought this up. But at least you're out there, you're in the moment, you're getting in the game. And I got to see this shirt. Show me this shirt that you're wearing. It looks like a knockoff of Beavis and Butthead. It says, "Are you kidding me?" And it's got, there's Aid Skrillex and Carl the Cuck, the guys who made themselves famous by sticking their feet in their mouths, essentially, right?
Well, this is a man who claimed that he'd done his research and then referred to Mao and Lenin as capitalists. So right then and there, he pretty much trumped himself.
Well, they did get funding from the globalists, though. So I guess in that way, they were getting capital from the globalists who wanted to take down these other countries.
He doesn't even know what capitalism is. He probably doesn't know what globalism is. I call these people the hearsay mafia. They don't do any research. They don't have any depth to their stance. They just hear and then they say. I don't know what their sources are exactly, maybe MSNBC, but they're the hearsay mafia, and that's why they're so easy to defeat in a street debate, because they have no depth.
Well, let's get right into it. Let's get into tips that you could give other people out there, especially in California, who are going to be going up against these social justice warriors. Aside from carrying a camera and having it ready and to record at all times and plenty of space, what other advice could you give people out there?
Well, yeah, and that is key, because the only reason there were probably 3 or 4 other moments that day that were very similar to the moment that Josh Owens captured. So having a camera to capture it is very powerful if you want to get the viral video, if you want to get this illustrated to millions of people. Other than that, if you're an informed individual and if you're courageous enough to stand your ground despite people yelling at you, now we're seeing this devolve into spitting at you, throwing eggs, whatever it may be. If you're just courageous and you stand your ground and you know your stuff, you're going to defeat these people every time. Now, I'll be perfectly honest, Rob, because you wanted to talk about what's going on in California. What I experienced in St. Louis, honestly, I think is going to pale in comparison to what people are going to experience in California, because these protesters have gotten much more aggressive. So what I would suggest doing, and I'm planning on going to Cleveland, and this is kind of my plan, take a stance that is less aggressive. Let them come after you. Let them expose themselves for what they really are, which is the ignorant sheeple, the walking dead. You know what most of these people are going to say because they're brainwashed. So you ask them, oh, what's wrong with Trump? What's the first response you're going to get? He's racist.
He's a misogynist.
Okay.
He's a xenophobe. He's sexist. He hates all Muslims.
Can you give me one example? Can you give me one example? And you hear the same thing. It's, are you kidding me? It's, oh my gosh. Oh, I don't have to, they can't give an example. And there might even be examples. You could probably give hundreds of examples, but these people have none. And that's what it really comes down to. If you go out there and you can get them in the ring with you in a civil debate. I mean, I know that it was very hostile in the streets of St. Louis that day, but it was civil. Nobody was violent. The one guy spit on me, but I think that's just because he was so out of control. I don't even think he meant to. But I'm expecting it to be a lot worse with these people in California, and they might be even more ignorant than the people I experienced in St. Louis. So you really need to come from a calm and collective point that tries to lure them into the ring. Basically, you need to get them to play your game because we can't play their game. I'm not going to walk around in the streets chanting racist or F this or F that, throwing eggs and spitting at people. That's not our game. Our game is a civil discussion. Our game is the information war. That's our game. So try to bring these people into the ring, have them engage in the information war, and you'll walk out undefeated like a lion in the ring with a bunch of gazelles.
Yeah, and you totally illustrated that. I mean, you stood your ground for 20 minutes. Most of the interactions I was able to record were way less than that. I mean, 5-6 minutes at a time, maybe even 30 seconds. But just standing up and standing in the ring is one way to defeat these people because they don't have an argument. When I was in San Francisco, just trying to talk to people, once you'd ask them a couple questions, oh, F you, I'm out of here, and they would run off.
Right.
I'm not here to debate. I'm here to cause trouble, is actually what one guy said. He had a green handkerchief on, and, of course, he covered his face as soon as things started to get crazy. So I totally agree with you. That is, what do you think in general? What's going on? Are we really living in idiocracy now? I mean, these people, I don't know where they come from or where they get their ideas.
Right, and I'm glad you said that. Rob, this is something that I struggle with every day. And we know the whys, okay? We can sit here and we can point out whys. There's fluoride in the water. The mainstream news is basically just a propaganda arm of the globalist regime. So, beyond there's other factors as well, but just those two factors are enough for us to kind of understand how these people got that way. So there is a chance for some people, but these people on the streets, I'm not sure if there's a hope for them. I think that they're completely brainwashed. They're basically just an empty vassal of brainwashing. And I don't know if there's hope for these people.
Well, I tell you what, one thing we have to do is illustrate what they're doing so we educate others out there who still can be reached. And I want to commend you for doing it. Go ahead and plug your website and your YouTube channel. I know you like to talk politics on YouTube.
Yeah, so I've got a YouTube channel. It's Owen Shroyer. It's really a podcast, but I do screen sharing as well. I share the news stories because, what we like to do is just have facts to back up our arguments, just this thing that we do in the information war. But I go on, I usually do about an hour, 2 hours. The name of the channel is Owen Shroyer. The name of the show is Engage Liberty. You can follow me on Twitter. All I do is Owen. That's where I post updates for when I'm going to be live. And if you like the broadcast, if you like the energy I bring to the air and you want to support it, go to CameronLeeWorldwide.com and you can get these T-shirts. We already talked about the Are You Kidding Me? Age Skrillex Carl the Cuck shirt, but I've got other shirts on there. I've got a Trump card shirt. I'm trying to make something for myself, trying to fund myself. That's what Trump's doing as well. So that's true Americana. That's true independence. And that's what I think needs to be resurrected in this country.
And that's getting in the ring. And as we go to break, I want to share with you guys some of the best of Balina Tetas. That's going to be her new nickname as we travel the social justice warrior ecosystem out there. We now have Balina Tetas out there, so we're going to go to her as we go to break. Thanks for joining us, Owen.
Thanks, guys. Salute to the Info Warriors out there.
All right. All right, Rob Dew with Infowars.com. You would think this would be a little block party scenario, but if you look behind me, there are mounted police. There are police in riot gear. People have taken over the streets of Costa Mesa. So are you with the group that was running around topless earlier?
So are you guys here for Trump?
Gender equality? No, I'm with myself. Fuck Trump. Free all the homies. Fuck them all.
Free El Chapo!
Fuck the police. Que viva Mexico. Que viva Italia. Fuck 'em.
Brain Force is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on this the last few months. You probably noticed I've been more crazed, more focused, less brain fog, more energy, more special reports, and it's because of Brain Force.
One of the worst things with most energy products is it's not sustainable, right? You're gonna crash, you're gonna feel really bad afterwards. This has a bunch of different antioxidants and compounds and polyphenols.
Everybody's on these drugs to knock their brain out because the brain's so fried.
We kept changing this formula over and over and over again until it became sort of a grand puzzle. For example, the L-theanine inside of it, that is activated by the different compounds in the yerba mate that we put inside of it as well. This just increases the compounds you already have.
This is what you're actually designed to run on.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a car will run on one form of junkie gas, but it runs really good on what it's designed for. You will find Brain Force, Survival Shield X2, and other game-changing products at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.